Oh, this is so dirty. But I'm going to record anyway before I go to work. And yes, I hate working on Black Friday. And it doesn't matter if I do sales or if my recent job is doing merchandising, you still got to work. Because if you work retail, or anything that has to do with retail, you're going to be working on the biggest moneymaker and quarter for retailers. But I just wanted to jump on here because I wanted to record a video before I had to leave. So I know I'm going to have a long day today. I wanted to talk about regarding the video, even though it's maybe a couple of days old. I think this video was posted maybe 2 or 3 days prior to Thanksgiving, about the little girl, or should I say possibly teenage girl in that church in Texas, where they were doing this whole "what are you thankful for" type of speech, and the girl with the braids, the middle girl, after the other child had spoke, she said, well, what are you thankful for? I'm thankful for God because God kept me alive, and da 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 da. And even then, I think she was forced to say that. I don't think she actually really meant anything of that, but if she didn't, she was probably going to be punished, maybe physically or verbally accosted in some kind of fucking way. What I wanted to get to the point was with the girl who said she was thankful for her stepmother. And I know at first she said it and she was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm going to take it back. And then everybody in the church was like upset and talking about, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to have this devilish spirit, and then that overweight black woman with the yellow shirt, and she was all going off talking about whippings and beatings, which most people who did reactions to, TikTok reactions or stitches to that video, in my opinion, they missed the whole fucking point. The reason why that woman was saying that is because she wanted to go back to the time where if somebody was to say this in church, that the parents would not only beat them, they would get beat by the church elders. And that's the part I think people were missing. But with the fact of the matter, when they were all like, you're going to say this, you're going to do, you're going to say, go on, get yourself together, get it together, all that stuff. And she point blank said, listen, I'm thankful for the fact that my stepmom listens to me more than my real mom. And how all those people got mad and then start praying over her and, putting their fucking hands on her. And apparently, according to what people said in the original video, she actually took 2 or 3 steps back away from them, and they came closer and start putting their fucking hands on her, talking about anointing her and putting holy water on her. And the mother in that church, in the audience, instead of waiting to talk to somebody, a mediator in private, to find out why this child feels this way, she was like, no, you're not going to sit up there and disrespect me or tell me that a woman that you didn't even birth you is better than me. And that's the part that I want to talk about. And also talk about why I believe these what are you thankful for round robins around the table during Thanksgiving is a setup. It is basically a setup for abusers to expect you to praise them. This woman probably expected her daughter to praise her because she's the one who ended up getting pregnant and having this child. So she believes that child owes her her life, owes her time, her body, even her mind. She believes that she does not have the right to have that feeling because, again, I gave birth to you. A lot of these a lot of these black churches and even black families, when it comes down to holidays where they do this type of tradition, again, it is basically to control that person, to control what they say. They don't want them to come out, that person to come out and tell them about themselves. This is why it is done. That woman knew. She knew her daughter didn't care much for her. She knew her daughter didn't particularly care for her or like her or whatever the case. She knew that. But because the fact of the matter, she was embarrassed, I guess, that her own flesh and blood said, hey, I like this person. I like this adult more than you because at least this adult cares about me or acts like they care about me and you do not. Yes, that it's considered it's considered a cardinal sin for you to say this. Let me just give you some context on why I say this. Back in 2015, when I unfortunately had to live with my parents back when we lived in California, we had to live with them for a short period of time. Well, I ended up having to find a new place for my two daughters, and at the time, which we still have, our Brindle Pit Bull. We were all staying with them. And of course, two other people, which one of them is unfortunately the half brother that I fucking can't stand. And then the adopted brother, which I'll talk about him in a later video. I remember we got into an argument, my mother and I. And I remember telling her that the reason why she will never get any love or respect from me is because the way that she always treated me, and I will never love, respect, give reverence, the same thing, to her. And this is what the fuck she said to me, and I quote, if I ever told my grandmother that I hated her, I would be, for the sake of YouTube purposes, because we can't say the K word or the D word, I would be unalived, unquote. They do not, black mothers who are horrible mothers, I'm just being real, or parents in general, I'm going to say all mothers, they do not like being compared to other parents. They do not like to be compared to other adult figures that may be an influence in their child's life. And if that child sees, well, hey, this person treats me with respect. This person treats me like I'm actually a human being and not something that's an embarrassment or a slave or a fucking marionette. They see that as a threat. Another thing that parents do when they are faced with this, they will always do well, why don't you go live with somebody else? My mother, was clear about that too. Whenever time I would call her out on her bullshit, especially when knowing how much of a mammy she is, the first thing will come out of her mouth, well, Allie, why don't you go live with X, Y, and Z parent? Or go live with your friend or your boyfriend's mother. It's always go live with someone else. Because the point is for them to shut you up and tell you that nobody else wants you, nobody else likes you but me. So you should be grateful that I am putting up and tolerating you, because really nobody else wants you, nobody else likes you, nobody gives a fuck about you. That's the reason. And that's why with that, I know people were talking about how they have received got triggered by that video, and rightfully so, because obviously this girl is not allowed to speak her mind. She's not allowed to say that, hey, I prefer this woman who, no, she's not my biological mother, but she acts more motherly to me than you do because she actually respects me as a human being. And like I said, that mother was triggered by that. She was triggered that there wasn't any blind obedience, blind allegiance. And I talk about this too. Black parents really do expect their children to show blind obedience and blind allegiance to their fucking parents. There is a old cartoon back in the 1950s. I believe it was from Total Television Productions Incorporated. Now, these people were actually before my time. I'm an 80s baby. I'm a millennial. But I used to watch a lot of the older cartoons in syndication, even if, and I know some of the cartoons were not politically correct back in the day, but some of them I did watch. And like I said, Go Go Gophers, which one that was made by Total Television Productions Incorporated, the same people who made Tennessee Tuxedo, the talking penguin that wanted to escape out of the zoo with his dim-witted Warris friend Chumley, and they always go to this bald-headed white man named Mr. Whoopi to learn about certain things, because it was like an educational cartoon. Anyway, I know I'm getting off track, but back to my point. The cartoon is called Go Go Gophers. And again, I apologize if there's any Native Americans who is listening to my video. I am not trying to disrespect you for y'all in any way. I know the cartoon is culturally offensive, the way they portrayed the Gophers as Native Americans. And I do not watch that cartoon anymore. But the point I'm trying to get across is the people, the animals that were supposed to be generals. There's one called Colonel Kit Coyote. And then there's one who I believe is a hyena. His name is Sergeant Oklahoma. It's supposed to be a play on the state name Oklahoma. Every time when they cannot catch the gopher Native Americans, I'm going to just use that word. When they cannot catch him, right? The sergeant always tells the colonel, hey, maybe we should do something else. Maybe we should try this approach. Maybe we should try the approach. And every time, Colonel Kit Coyote, he will say to him, Sergeant, no, you need to have blind obedience. You are in the army. Blind obedience, Sergeant. End quote. Meaning, you do not question my authority. You do not get to ask questions. You do not get to sit up there and say, well, I don't like what you're doing. You don't have no opinion whatsoever. You must follow me blindly, even if it's to your detriment. That is how a lot of black parents are with their children. They want blind obedience. They don't care if they are the most horrible, abusive, non-listening, fucked up parents on the planet. They expect their children to give them blind allegiance, blind obedience. And it just makes me think of that cartoon. It's on YouTube. All you have to do if you want, I wouldn't recommend to watch because of the political incorrectness. I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but the political incorrectness. I think that's the correct words. Incorrectness. But that part where Colonel Kit Coyote consistently says, blind obedience, Sergeant, blind obedience. That is what black parents expect of their children. They expect blind obedience. They expect, no matter how horrible that you treat them, that they should always kiss the ground that you walk on, because you decided to have sex, and for her to get pregnant and carry a child for 9 months, that you basically feel that they owe you for you carrying them around in your uterus when you didn't even have to. You could have got the A word, because we're not allowed to say that on YouTube. You could have went and adopted the kids. You could have used condoms. But a lot of black parents do. They look at their children as burdens. They look at their children as burdens, and they expect their children to give blind obedience, regardless of the situation. And I believe that poor girl is in jeopardy. I believe that there is abuse that's going on, not only in the church, but outside the church, in that woman's home. And I'm guaranteed, bitter as that woman is to set her daughter up in that type of manner, that she will probably put hands and feet on that girl when they leave that church. I can guarantee it. But I just wanted to come in here before I went to work and talk about this situation. I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. You can, let's talk about this in the comments, shall we? What do you think? Do you think the whole blind obedience thing, do you believe in that? That's what black parents do, which I wholeheartedly believe? Or do you believe that she was being disrespectful? I don't believe the girl was being disrespectful. I believe she had the right to say what she felt about her mother. But like in black churches and black communities, you're not supposed to talk about how bad your parents are. And and like I said, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna leave you with this. For the Bible thumpers who always talk about the 10 Commandments, honor thy mother and thy father, there's a part, and I believe it is in Ephesians, do not quote me this, where Apostle Paul says, do not promote your children quick to wrath. Instead, bring them up and discipline them on the ways of the Lord. Translation, if you piss off your children, do not be mad. Do not be shocked. Do not act surprised. Do not crash out when your children do not respect you, do not love you, or compare you to another fucking parent who seems to do better than what you are doing. That is on you. Again, I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope to talk to you again in the next video.